Welcome to the welcome to the Saturday's Freedom for Targeted Individuals podcast today. I'm your moderator, Ella, and this is a community group. It's not just mine. At the top of the discussion, we will make any activism announcements, discuss any letter writing campaigns, discuss any legal matters and or developments. The goal is to inspire and implement, more importantly, ideas and come up with strategies to carry them out. If you'd like to speak, just hit star on your phone. That will unmute you. And then if you want to mute yourself again, or if you have background noise, star once more. So star is what you need to know. And there are some basic guidelines to follow to keep the unity within the group. Please use common courtesy while discussing matters. Please allow the person to finish speaking before responding. Sometimes I might have to interrupt if someone goes on a very long monologue. So I apologize for interrupting ahead of time. I suggest keeping a notepad close by to take notes or to write down your questions while you're waiting to speak. Just be respectful overall, and I think it'll be a great meeting. Let's see. It's important to remember the theme of the call. If you feel that it's urgent and you do need some immediate support, we can try to accommodate your request. I cannot impress upon you the importance of acting upon the ideas and plans discussed. And on that note, I'll go ahead and we'll begin our discussion. So Terry and I were just having a discussion, and we think it's really important to find him. Because I can't see everybody on the board, you're going to have to unmute yourself with star. Terry, I'm looking for you. I do see a couple people on here. I don't see Terry. I wonder if it's knocking people off. Terry? That's unfortunate.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of sluggish or something.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that's about.
Yeah, now I don't see you on the board, so I won't know how many people are actually here, and I don't think other people will be able to see how many people are on the call either, because now I can't see you. I see just a few people. So prior to the recording or me starting the recording, we were having a discussion about what occurred on a call last night, on Linda's call. Linda Costanzo, who is another moderator, and there's some concerns because one particular person came in and is trying to dissuade people from the survey. It was Brian too. And anyway, so go ahead, Terry, and you can explain what you thought and your impressions and about Matthew coming on and trying to kind of counteract some of that negativity.
Okay, first of all, I want to say, guys, whoever's here, and please repeat this, the survey that's being done, you can find it on many websites now and stuff. It's being shared. Go fill out the survey and fill out the information truthfully and stuff. Please do not corrupt the data and repeat what somebody else has said or somebody else did. Do by only what has been done to you. That's it. I mean, Brian too last night said on a show, and I don't mean nothing against Brian too, but I just want to point this out. It seemed to be a very deliberate attempt to corrupt the data that's taken in this survey. He said to go to the Discovery and look up his stuff and reference what he had spoke about, and it was on that. That's a direct attempt to try to corrupt data. Brian, too, is smart enough to know that by sending people to that article and having them read it, to copy data and reference it, is going to corrupt the data. And the survey would become useless. We can't have that. You guys got to fill it out, and you got to do it by the information of your targeting. That is so very important. You guys have no idea how important that is. The other thing is, please don't be scared to take it. Your information's already out there. The only thing the survey can do, or any of them, like the database at my website, is help us. It helps prove the crime. It's going to help show what's happening to people, how many people the different things are happening to. That data is very, very important for this fight. And somebody earlier on a phone call before I got on Ella's call today said, well, what do you think, Terry, about it? Bill Binney and all this, the movie thing, and the fact they went in his house and now he's a free person and everything, and is he a perp? No, I don't think so, guys. I think what it is people are trying to feed some disinformation into our community to try to stop this survey. I urge you all to not worry about your information and stuff. Please take the surveys, participate on anything that's helping us build data, because that's one of the things that authorities have told me are lacking. And be careful when you listen to certain people. Listen to what they say. Like, if they tell you that there's a supercomputer that's going to ruin your life and there's no way out, and then in a couple of sentences later they say you can beat it by listening to music, your brain should logically hit inside your head and say there's something wrong with those two statements putting together. Because if you're a supercomputer and there's no way out, then how can it all of a sudden be defeated by music? I just want to point these things out to people because the doom and gloom, we really got to stop. Everybody, please, try to be uplifting, encourage people, give your positive testimonies.
I agree. Thank you, Terry. And on that note, too, you know, there's certain personalities, and Brian, too, is one of them, and I can think of a couple other people off the top of my head. They speak with such authority. And just because they speak with authority, there's something about, you know, when we grew up with teachers and our parents, if someone speaks with authority, you know, we kind of expect them to be telling the truth. Or it's just something I think as human beings, when someone speaks like that, we tend to believe them. It's just something, you know, the way that, you know, it's just human condition. And so, you know, no matter who it is speaking with conviction, you know, you have to think about it. You know, it doesn't mean they're 100% accurate. And, you know, and then they have their own personalities, you know, if someone has some psychological issues, and that's going to kind of play into the information as well. And I think the healthiest thing we can do is question your own self and take in new information, because if someone says this is the only way that this is happening, everybody else's program is disinformation. They're wrong, you know, and that's what Brian too does. He says there's only one way that these programs work, and it's the only way. When I know for a fact there's gang stalking, I know that everybody's is slightly different, and that's a fact because I talk to hundreds of people. And that's just not that I don't believe there's only one way that this is happening. There are different groups of people that do different types of things. I think this is just my opinion. And I always use a qualifier word because I don't know for a fact. I suspect, that's a qualifying word, that there are rogue groups as well as, these really expensive deep state programs that are going on. You know, I just think that's healthy, you know, and I question myself a lot, like, is that true? Is that a possibility? And sometimes we don't know. We can only speculate. So, you know, just be careful. We worry greatly. You know, there's people that are leaders in this community for 20 years, not 20, but maybe 10, and they worry about these type of statements too. Because we worry about these people because if you're new, and I remember being new to the community, I believed everybody, but it got confusing because everyone started saying different things. So, you know, when you're new, you're a little bit naive, and, you know, but time will show you a little bit that a person's character is a certain way, that they do certain things, that, you know, they have a tendency to call everybody perps, or they have a tendency to say that person's lying, you know, because it doesn't match up with their idea of the program, you know. I think we can all agree that programs differ from person to person. You know, if you listen to the calls, you'll understand that. And you can also agree that sometimes we don't really know what's happening. We're only guessing because, you know, a lot of what happens is invisible, minus, of course, the following, the actual contracted stalking, that, you know, also known as gang stalking. That's something we can see. And even then, sometimes we might suspect someone's in on it, but they may not be. So this is a difficult thing to speak, you know, whether it's me or someone who's a specialist, to speak as a fact, you know. And I have, you know, close, dear friends who, one's a neuroscientist, so I do trust him. He's got the background, you know, so when he tells me certain things, I still have a little room in there to go, maybe he just isn't aware of the advancement of technology or whatever it may be, but I believe him because he's studied neurosciences or was involved for maybe 25 years, I think. Yeah, so anyways, I hear some background noise.
So accurate.
What?
There's something else I'd like to add to Ella, if I could.
Sure.
Guys, it was so important to me I spoke up and Kate last night thanked me, but we got to recognize too, Matthew stood up last night and he said on the call the same thing that I'm telling you guys today. And it's so important. I called Matthew, I couldn't get a hold of him, but I left a message on his phone today thanking him for standing up, because we got to have people stand up in our communities when we see things that are trying to tear us down. One other thing I want to mention, then I'll go back and be quiet, is right now as we're speaking, there is a lady that's in her 60s. She's in Vancouver, Washington. and she's out there passing out flyers right now at the Saturday market there. And she is the person that I told you about going to the park with, and she took back her power. The perp stood there and pointed the car at her and had the headlights on in the heat of the day, you know, just sitting there with the motor idling and stuff. And I gave her a flyer and told her to take her power back. And she walked up with the flyer, and he backed up and spun out of the parking lot because he knew he was doing wrong. Just want to share that with you guys. We can all do this, and I'm convinced if you guys do what I do, we can beat this. But that's just my idea, and I encourage you to get involved in everything. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I had a point I wanted to reiterate, but I've kind of lost it. Does somebody else want to contribute? I mean, I still have announcements to make. But go ahead. If you on this topic, if you'd like to say something, go ahead. You know, and you don't have to agree with us. That's fine.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I want to comment on a couple of things. Regarding the survey, as far as my opinion goes, these people, perps, or whatever you'd like to address them as, already know you. They have researched you. You have been in their program maybe longer than you can recognize. Therefore, they know your family. They know everything about your background, where you've worked, where you've lived. So there's nothing left to hide from them. So why not do this survey and do justice to this, because we need the information to go forward. We need it not only for that, but I think also to identify the number of TIs that are out there that have been inflicted. I think the numbers will show then data, not only the data, but numbers. I could be wrong, but I think numbers are also important to prove this out. That's my opinion on that. The other thing I want to say is we've got to try and walk away from fear. We've got to try and get into normalcy of life. Yes, we have fear, but put that aside if you can and devote a small amount of time every day to becoming like you were. Like, what did you used to enjoy? Reading the newspaper? Did you enjoy watching your favorite movies? Did you enjoy reading a book? Did you enjoy art? Did you enjoy building or creating? If we could devote a small amount of time every day, we can come back to ourselves and take hold of ourselves and not allow them to take 100% of our life. I think it's really important that we try to struggle away from that, even though I know it's very, very difficult. But if you just do like 15 minutes a day, you'll find yourself becoming more stronger. Now that's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for your opinion. You know, and the other thing I wanted to point out is they are separating your names and from the data, and it is just your symptoms. You know, you're not like identifying your family members, your close friends, you know, anything like that. It's your symptoms and what you experience. So I don't see that. I don't understand the fear myself. And if you don't know who Bill Binney is, rent from Amazon or get your hands on The Good American. This is probably one of the most respected, noble men that have been involved with the agencies. They took a big risk by confronting the government and sticking up for the Constitution. And you know, their lives were destroyed. They've rebuilt, and they're still working on getting their liens back from their homes from the government. So, not the lien, yet getting the lien removed from their properties. So they're still trying to recover from what they did, the chances they took because they believed in the Constitution, and they were very. It was alarming to them what was going on, this data collecting of every single American citizen. So, you know, yeah, sometimes people make these comments about Bill Binney because they don't really know about him, you know. So, you know, I have 110% faith in him, and I trust him immensely. If you read the history, you'll see what he went through. And he, you know, and he continues to defend the Constitution, and he's taking a risk once more. Trying to prove the existence of these programs. So anyways, that's my closing statement on that topic. So on some other topics to Okay, so I wish Paula was here. I'd like to hear how his vigil went. I know there was a vigil just a few days ago, and I hope that went well. Alicia in Philadelphia is planning a protest October 10th in Philadelphia. If you want to participate in that, I know she could use the support. Email me at tiangel2016@gmail, and I will forward her the information. I don't know if, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I gave her email address, but I just want to confirm that. And then we have two people here in the United States, that are in mental institutions, and one is Todd Giffen. I need to get a phone number, an accurate phone number. I had like 30 emails from him, and I couldn't find the phone number he wanted us to call. So I will get more details on that. It's interesting because Tuesday I had a guest, and he's a non-TI, and he works in the mental health field. He's a PhD in social services, and he's also the brother-in-law of Dr. Matthew Aaron, and he came on and gave us such great input, how to protect ourselves, what's going on in how not to get captured into the mental health field or incarcerated into one of these institutions. And he just gave the second busiest night next to, I guess a lot of people are interested on this topic. I think there was a total of like people calling in, and then some people not staying on the full time. I think it was 180 people. The Bill Binney one, I think, was 200 and something. So it was a busy call, and I thought that was a good call to make. He was just a very highly credible person who gave us great information. And if you didn't get to hear it, you can go to the YouTube channel, the Ella Free YouTube channel, and it's one of the most recent ones. You can look up Dr. S speaks on something to do with the mental health. I forget. Mental health, how he was to discover targeting. That's what it was. So I definitely suggest that, just to kind of protect ourselves, because I'm always concerned too of that happening to me once more, and I always worry because people do end up in these places more than once, and most people have been in them at least once, and people that know how to speak too and communicate and are careful, it still happens, you know. Doesn't matter if you have a PhD or you're living in your car, which I always hate to hear that. We end up in those places. Everyone seems to have had a visit or a close brush with that. But, you know, I hope that's going to change. One of the things I was going to say is that, you know, you don't have to do the survey. You don't have to do any activism. But doing nothing has done nothing. So I do think that we do need to take a little bit of a risk to try to stop this. I know starts to get out, and I'm so proud of all these people who've been doing this for years. It's this cumulative effort of trying to stop this, and it's a shift from what I understand, from what people told me, and also what I've seen even in a year and a half that I've been a part of this community. So anyways, good job, everybody, and you know, I really appreciate everybody's efforts, and try not to let fear get the best of you. That's what they want. This is a PSYOPs program. They want us traumatized, they want us in fear, and they want us scared. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And also, Elvira Williams, who's been a long-time activist, is also in the Institute. If we can call and give her some support. I'm trying to figure out who I can do. Someone has background noise. If you can start.
Hey, Ella?
Yeah,
Ella?
hi, Amy. Yeah, hold on, Amy.
Ella.
Hi. Can you hold on 1 second? I'm going to give a couple phone numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. So Elvira can be reached at 954-776-8890. Again, that's 954-776-8890. And that's one of the, you know, I have those phones in the hallway that are there for the patients. So I'm going to try to figure out a different number, some kind of administrative number that we can call. But go ahead, Amy. You have a lot of background noise, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get off in a second. I called the nurses station, Elvira Williams nurses station, and I spoke to a male nurse, and he said he couldn't give me any information unless she signed that paper that he's allowed to divulge how she's doing. I told him that, she's a coherent person. She's not crazy. She never hurt herself, never hurt anybody else, nor does she ever intend to. I said, you would have let her out of there. And so I just pretty much stuck up for her and became an ally for her. And I hope it helps. I'm sure it does. Everybody that calls in, it helps. It really adds up. It matters. And that's what I want to say. And if there wasn't background noise, I would say some other things, but I don't want to create background noise on the phone.
It's okay. When you're speaking, it's better. Your voice becomes a dominant sound. So it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to say that when I went to the doctor a few years ago, I don't like going to the doctor, but I had to get the doctor to sign a paper for management office where I was renting at the time, and the reason why the doctor had to sign a paper was so I can get out of the lease without having it be on my record that I broke the lease. So anyway, the assistant spoke with me for around 20 minutes, took all the notes, and then the doctor finally came in, and she had everything misconstrued. She's telling me, she's reading back to me what the notes are saying. She says, what's something wrong with your ears? You can't hear? How long it's been going on? I said, no. I said, in a very calm way, I said, no, that's not true. I said, I was just speaking to your assistant, and I told her a whole different thing. I don't understand how you're telling me this. Well, so anyway, the point I'm making is it doesn't matter what they say. If you just kind of stick up for yourself and say, I didn't say that, in a calm way, and then don't get into talking about the targeting, because it's kind of a segue. It could be a segue to get into talking about the targeting. Oh, yeah, I get voices in my head. That's what's wrong with my ears. I mean, if I was out of my mind, or if I was being mind-controlled, or if I just didn't care that what I was saying, I would have said that. But I'm protecting myself. I don't want to get committed into a loony bin. So I'm just saying that it doesn't matter what they say. If they try to mislead you so you say things that can get you incarcerated in a mental institute, you don't go there. You just stand strong and you say what's true. And what's true is you don't want to get in there. So you don't talk about this stuff to people in a medical center, in a doctor's office, a dentist's office, any kind of traditional medical center. You don't speak about this stuff because they can't be trusted. Now, if I was going to see an acupuncturist, I was seeing an acupuncturist many, many years ago, once or twice a week, and I told her about the targeting at that time. The targeting at that time, as far as I was aware of, didn't include the electromagnetic, the DUs, the neuromanipulation, the V2K. It did not include that, so I didn't have a reason to tell her that. But I told her that, I was getting followed, I was getting broken into, and she listened, and I really wasn't afraid she was going to get me locked up, because she was an acupuncturist. She was a non-traditional health practitioner. She wasn't trained medically, and so there was no fear instilled in me about that with her. Totally safe with her. So it all depends on what healer. If you're speaking to a real healer, they're not going to do that to you. Even if you're speaking to a mental health practitioner who's a real healer, who has spiritual depth, who has morality, who has an open mind, they're not going to get you in trouble. So you have to kind of be discerning about who you share this with. We all like to talk about it, especially to people who are taking care of us, who are paying. But we have to be discerning about it, And that's what I want to say, Ella, basically.
Thank you. You can star. I hope that'll work. Okay, thank you. And even with the people that you may trust, I'm going to just say is just a cautionary comment that we still need to be careful. Yeah, develop a bit of a relationship. I just get so concerned. But thank you for your wisdom and your experiences.
Yeah, no, it's important to develop a relationship, but at the time, of course, I didn't have anyone. I was all alone getting targeted.
Right.
So, of course, naturally, I was going to tell her right away the first visit what was going on. I mean, I understand when people who are getting targeted do that. It's totally natural to want to share with somebody when you're not aware of the community, of the TI community.
Do you happen to have the number that you called to make these comments for Elvira?
Yeah, I do. Let me get it. It is absolutely. It's just one number, and it's let me see. It is 954 776 8500. 954 776 8500.
50.
Hey.
Yeah.
Go ahead, start on. You can
good, I
kind
got
of.
the mail.
I'm at.
Is Elvira, is she a TI?
She is a long-term activist. I speak to her quite often, actually.
Okay. If somebody wants to send the information where she's at, I'll send the same package to wherever she's at that I sent where Todd's at, that I put together.
Okay, sure. And I'll read because Amy, and I'll say her number or give the number again that Amy called and said basically that Elvira is stable and that all the things that we just heard, and not a threat to anyone else. So it was 954-776-8500. I just wanted to, because every time she was trying to give it, there was some background noise. So just want to reiterate it.
If you can put that, if somebody can email me that stuff, like I said, I'm at the church volunteering today, so I will send the same packet to wherever she's at that I sent for Todd Giffen.
Thank you. Did you get my screenshot to show that I'm having some difficulties with the website? Did you see that it didn't really load the new information?
Yeah, I looked at it and the website came up this morning for me on the phone and at home. But if you noticed last night, I mentioned on Linda's call that there were some difficulties.
Right.
And information enough, I'll share this with you, is every time I went to go edit that site and do something, my screen resolution kept changing over and over. That's why it took so long to do it.
They really are on top of me, and you don't even know the stuff I'm experiencing at home as far as this interference that's going on.
Well, I found it interesting because I edited my website last night too. I kind of copied, and I hope you don't mind, I kind of copied that information and put on my website for people too. I didn't feel like writing something else. I just copied what you sent to me. And so I added it, but I didn't have a problem at all doing it to my website. But when I went to the other one, my screen resolutions and everything kept changing. That was the problem that I mentioned last night. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with, and I'm having problems getting these calls on, I don't want to say the name so they don't get mad at me, but, a place that I like to platform a lot of my calls is giving me difficulty because I'm taking this international stance, and I don't know how they're on top of these things, but 5 minutes later it was down. Anyways, but we'll work around it. We'll do the best we can. Creativity will pay off, and just persistence. And we're not doing anything wrong. Getting this information, we have every right to get this information out, and I have every right to post videos. I have every right to have a website, and they really are making everything very, very difficult for me. So that tells me I'm doing something right. So I'll just continue to do the things that they kind of push at me, this whole international thing, which they really don't like, it seems to be. I'm just going to keep on doing that international outreach because it seems to be that's the thing that's ever since I started that, we created this umbrella organization to bring together people and get other, like getting everybody in Europe speaking to some other Europeans and just trying to create this, this open line communication. That's when things really, really heated up, with targeting, the website issues. You can't even find it on Google. That's the other thing. And I've had 2 people try to make it where it is searchable, and I'm having people link it on their sites. Still can't find it, but I just started being on other people's. So get around it. You will figure out a way. So thanks for helping me out with that. And any information I put on a site, or you feel free to share it. This is about sharing information. This isn't about controlling everything and egos and stuff. On my case, feel free to share anything you want that has to do with targeting, any of the YouTube, anything anything I share in an email. I'm not like that. Go ahead and have permission.
Well,
Anyway.
I've been trying to tell everybody that's leaders in our community to start sharing. If we all do, we're a much effective force. And you just made a really good point, and I think all you guys should think about this. As you get up and you start talking out and fighting back, they're going to change their tactics a little bit to try to deter you. And what Ella just said is very right. That is the sign that you're doing something that they don't like, and you're working towards the solution. So think about that. If you guys get out and you see them switching things up, they're just confirming that what you're doing is working towards the solution, and they're trying to deter you for it. And that should give you a drive to keep going forward.
And with that said, I have had a non-TI reach out to me who I believe I trust. They're offering some money. They also want to match money. A non-TI that wants to know about this conference, and I sent out an email about this conference that's coming up. It was very general to some people that were non-TIs, and it got to another non-TI, so I have a connection to the person. And so they want to contribute some money, get some Europeans to the conference, or a European. So, Slawek, if you're interested, we might be able to raise some money to get a plane ticket. And so far, they've donated $500. So, we would love, as an organization, an umbrella organization, FFTI, if a European would like to come out and be one of the keynote speakers. I have to also run it by Allison. I should have done that first this morning, and see if she'd be interested in having a European speaker at this conference. I can't imagine she wouldn't, but if I have to correct myself on that, I'll let you guys know. But I thought that was really great. And he wants to match, if someone makes a $25 donation, up to $500, I guess, he is going to match it. So that's kind of exciting. I love getting non-TIs. I'm sorry?
Where's the conference at?
Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's really great to get non-TIs on board with us. Like that actually you can tell, they feel like this is an important cause. And so, so I'm pretty happy about that. Matthew, did you want to come in? I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ella. Hi, this is Ann from Massachusetts. I just wanted to say, Terry, that was the conference that I thought maybe we could fly you out to speak at, the Massachusetts end of October conference. I hadn't spoken to Allison about it either, but on Mike Mason's call, Mike and I had just thought of it, and Mike thought it might be a good idea too to fly Terry out to speak.
Yeah, great idea. And on that note, Allison's doing a great job. She just kind of came on, and the first time I spoke to her, I thought she had a great activism. I can't think of the word. She just really has a good head on her shoulders, has great ideas for activism, and she's kind of spearheading this whole thing. So really, I feel like as a community, we're fortunate to have her. And I will, I will keep you guys up to date. I know she's going to come on when she solidifies some more of the details and some of the logistics, so she'll come on and talk about it. And it sounds like a great opportunity, number one, to meet other TIs. Number two, to meet a lot of these activists that are doing so much. And number three, to learn a great deal. It just seems like a really great opportunity for a lot of people. And to travel, just to kind of get out of the torture and everything else. And we're looking, I know she's looking for hotels that are at a reasonable price. And she might use some of her points to get some of the speakers a hotel, and and depending on who the person is, I know she's going to really try and help get people flown out there. I'm really excited about that. Okay, so Matthew, I saw you unmuted yourself. You may be in the middle of something, but if you're not in the middle of something and you want to speak, star, and come on in. Otherwise, it's nice to have you here listening. Hi, Yaya. See you're here. Okay, so let's see. New York. I see New York is unmuted.
Yes. Hi, it's
Go ahead.
Michelle.
Hi.
Hi, guys. Hi. I just was always curious about it, and I know there were some difficulties with her being under such extreme attack with the tsunami campaign. There was a lot of, energy and time spent that was devoted to it, and I was just always curious about whatever happened with it. With the concept of once these politicians were contacted, then they were put in a position to have to be able to, to get back to us, to respond. And I was wondering whatever happened with that, with following through with that. I know there was a break time at one point, but I just never understood why it didn't restart, or does anybody know if it has a future again in restarting? Because, that was, I thought, a great, tactic, and it just kind of went away without, I never knew what happened,
Oh, sure. I'll give you an update on that. And again, I haven't been able to change it on my website. I'm having issues, as you heard from Terry and myself. It is on hiatus. Is going to revisit it again. I actually emailed her, and she responded and said that she, got distracted, or is focusing, not distracted. She's some other things at the moment, and she will get back to it.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure she was okay, and hopefully it got the support that it deserved. And this other thing about everybody kind of, pointing fingers at somebody else being perpetrators, that is the biggest disservice to us as a whole, because they want us not trusting each other and spending our time and energy on defending ourselves, and what makes a perpetrator? Somebody that disagrees with you. It's just sad that we are kind of fighting amongst ourselves when, that time and energy should be spent and going after them. And it's just so sad. I hate to see that happen, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. They know everything about us. At least for me, they know when I go to the bathroom, whenever. So to think that they, to take part in what we need to accomplish is not a good idea. And that's like you're putting yourself in a position for them to find out information about you. That's ridiculous. They already know everything about us. And so, we have to support each other and not start calling each other, whatever, names to make us feel like we're our own enemies. That has to stop, because it's not fair we all are going through a lot. And just because we have a difference of opinions does not make a perpetrator, I think, but anyway, that's it for me.
And some of these people that go around saying this type of stuff, they're actually just being vindictive because someone stood up to them or whatever the case may be. It's just their personalities. But newsflash, this is a newsflash here. If someone's doing good for the community, they're probably perpetrators. If someone's trying to divide, cause problems, bring people down, and that's not to say they're all perpetrators when people do this, because sometimes people have personality issues. Or takeover calls or whatever the case may be. And again, it doesn't mean they're perpetrators. Sometimes they just want to hear themselves talk, or they have a lot to say. Those are probably a better chance that they're perpetrators. So just some common sense there. I don't know. I think that's a great disservice, and I think it's COINTELPRO tactics, and they love when we are all at each other's throats, so to speak, and, when we're focusing on all these problems, all this drama takes away our time and our energy and our efforts from being productive. We're just getting stuck. I call it the vortex of drama, some of the activists, that's what I call it. You get sucked into one person who is being so vicious to a person or hurting someone's feelings or, causing drama or whatever the case may be. And it really makes us all unproductive, myself included. If someone, like one particular woman who's just vile to me and attacks me and talks about my kids and all these different things, and I get hurt. I don't want to do activism. I take a break, because I'm a sensitive human being. And when you attack me and my children, I'm hurt. And so I have to be stronger. I know that, and get a little thicker skin. But for a day, I'm not being productive. So I have to catch myself. And whether that's intentional or not to keep me from doing activism, I don't know. Who's to say? I don't have proof. I'm
sorry, Ella. I don't know if there's a way of just not allowing them to participate, because we don't need negative energy. This is about being proactive and positive and attacking people. There was somebody today that overheard me giving my phone number to another person on another podcast show. And I got a call from them. I didn't even know they had my number, but got a call from them. And they were pressuring me to basically agree with what their decision, whatever their website, whatever they had going. And I just, told them, thank you for the information, but I didn't give them the response they were looking for. And then I got called a name, a headless chicken. That's what I was called, for somebody I didn't even give my number to, and just was nice enough to respond when they, emailed me. But I quickly emailed them back and said, I'm not accepting of any name calling, and just don't contact me again. So I kind of just shut them down immediately. So it's not, I don't know what their route was or what their intentions were, but, it's unacceptable. So if you want to live in that kind of negativity, then take your marbles and go elsewhere. That we don't have time for such nonsense.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry to experience that. These people who call names, I mean, it seems like elementary school. Some of the things I've heard are so appalling, calling people names and stuff. I don't know. I wasn't raised to do that, and I have been. There's one word I used I'm not proud of the other day. I called someone the B word, and that's not very professional of me. But you get hurt, and sometimes we say things, and we just need to rise above it, take the high road. And it's hard. Sometimes I end up taking their road, and I don't like that. I'm just
Ella,
have to
I really like that phrase that you use, vortex of drama, because it really describes the idea that there is an energy created, and there is a whole science behind psychotronic resonance, and you can look those words up, anybody who wants to know. Psychotronic resonance has to do with frequencies, and there are frequencies for aggravation, anger, depression, anxiety. And if you get caught up in the vortex of that energy, you will express that energy however you do. And so it's really key to recognize when those energies are being generated in the community and step back out of it, recognize that it is a system which includes everyone who's within earshot. Everyone who hears the word, feels the vibrations, could get caught up in that vortex. So, this is a real science that they've developed, and we have to be careful that they're not using it against us.
Right. Thank you, Sue. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Sue has a degree, I think a degree in psychology, or were you in marriage? What did you do? I know you've been.
No, I actually have a couple of bachelor's degrees, and I'm certified in a few areas, but my certification is in cognitive behavioral therapy. But, I don't propose to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but I have a lot of counseling experience and training in those. But in this, what we're doing here takes it to another level. It's past psychology. It's more in the realm of energy physics and particle physics. So, and I did study some physics and some other sciences, so it does give me an edge, when I'm analyzing what's going on. It doesn't mean that I'm outside of it, because I have to work hard at not being caught up with some of the game playing that's going on. And we do have to look at, as objectively as possible what the behaviors are and why they would be generated in front of us. So whether it's, gang stalking or conversation or activism, or if it takes it to the medical, legal levels, we have to be careful to stay as neutral and objective as possible in order to analyze and not get caught up unconsciously with those games.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. I really appreciate it. It does take
that's
practice. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having a call.
So, does anybody want to make any other announcements, any events? I have not talked to Attorney Dibble. I need to. It's on my list of things to do, but I think Tomo has a relationship, Tomo Shibata, and so I'd like her maybe to call and see what's going on with the lawsuits. So, and when the information comes out, whenever Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe analyze the information and the data, that'll be very strong. That'll just only add to our cases, guys. So not only are you participating in a survey that's going to help bring this to light, you might actually in the future be able to get some compensation because of what these men are doing. So, if you want to take it from a more self-driving motivation, that's something to think about.
And Ella, I'm still, the door is still ajar with my contacting a civil rights organization. And in fact, I continued to send them pictures, and I didn't know if it was good or bad news. I got a response back that, that they have, accumulated quite a few pictures, but they are still, they will get back to me with the response. They just said they give them a couple of weeks and just, be patient. So at least they haven't slammed the door on me yet, but I'm as soon as I know something, then I'll, get on a podcast and let you guys know. But I just wanted to get a response back before I, before I was able to I guess just say everything about what was going on. But it is at least one response that have gone to their legal department. So I'm hoping that I'll know within the next week or two. They just told me just in an email just to stay patient, that they'll get back to me. So in a couple of weeks. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but anyway, like I said, they haven't slammed the door in my face yet.
Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate your efforts. I'm really impressed with your efforts. I know you are very committed to activism, and I really appreciate you. Just want you to know that. Thank you for everything you've done.
Everybody, that's why I'm like, this is while we're all under attack and with the little energy we do have, that for someone to totally, just think that whatever crusade somebody's on isn't worthy is just unbelievable to me, and especially, when we all are trying our best. It might not be your idea, but I think we all need to be supported. Because, we're all in it. One person being saved means us all being saved. So just, and how do we expect outside people to back us when we don't, and support us, when we're so critical of each other and decide not to support something, right out of the gate?
Let's go for that.
I'm trying to, I want to kind of stay on related topic, because if anybody else wants to give their opinions on, it seems to be the main topic is just kind of the COINTEL tactics and some of the divisory things going on. Go ahead, star. And if you can't if you're having difficulties starring, if you just want to send me a quick text, I can unmute you manually on my side. I believe I can see most of the people at this time. I can see quiet. One thing I'm trying to find, this is kind of making 180, but it is activism. I'm looking for anybody who has a veterinarian that might want to speak up or come on the call that supports and believes what's going on, because many of us have animals that are brutally attacked, and my dog is brutally attacked, and I can't even believe it. You should see the pictures of it. And, I had a friend, he looked at the injuries and says it looks like radio frequency, damaging. So if anybody knows of a veterinarian, I'd love to speak to them. And then also, the other thing I want to do is get PETA involved, because PETA, we don't have to have court cases and documentation, although it probably will help to prove this is going on. PETA, from what I understand, is probably one of the quickest to get on board with us, because someone told me they once wrote a letter and there was an immediate response and concern what was going on, but that was years ago. So if we can get them reinterested in this, and that's also a way to get other organizations, involved. And like, look, we can say PETA's on board with this. They know animals are getting attacked, so apparently, not too far of a stretch to know that we're being attacked too, and our animals are being attacked because of our targeting. They want to get to us. That seems to be the obvious conclusion. So,
That's a really good idea, Ella. That's a really good idea. In fact, they might already have images from the laboratories that they've entered, where some of these experiments have been going on. And they might also know some vets who are supportive of our cause. But that, I hadn't even thought of it, but you know what, that is a good angle to go with.
Thank you. Yeah, because my dog, and you guys hear me talk about my dog, it's just unbelievable.
I know.
And
everybody who has pets has been through that.
You guys would be shocked if I sent you some of the pictures, and I go to the vet, and she's very perplexed by it. She thinks, well, maybe it's some kind of side effect of Cushing's, but there's literally, you can see the injuries, the burns, little pinholes and things like that, and she can't reach it. She's a bulldog. She's not built to get to her back, and you can just see its burns, and Matthew, who's a neuroscientist and also has a lot of understanding of this, of this technology, says it's definitely.
You know what helps with is a wet towel. I know some dogs don't like to go into a bathtub for a soak, but if you get a wet towel and put it on those injuries, it'll help in two ways. One will be to cool down the spots, and two, to absorb out some of those frequencies right into the water of the towel. And you can keep rinsing it. And you can use Epsom salts too, in case they have any chemicals combined in with their fur that makes them more conductive. So that's one thing you can do. They also like magnets. I've tried magnets, and it helps. I don't know if you can get them on there permanently, but you can do healing on your animals with those magnets, and they will feel the difference.
Won't the Epsom salt aggravate the burns or hurt them? I just don't want to uncomfortable.
Well, Epsom salt is kind of an alkaline solution, so it shouldn't burn, but you can just start with plain water. And you can make a diluted solution because it does absorb the chemistry and the frequencies better. If you use salt, that will burn. If you use regular salt, that will burn, but I don't think magnesium sulfate will hurt them too much. You can make it diluted. Very diluted.
And I understand it's like an antibacterial as well. In Japan they use that salts a lot to preserve and protect and keep from bacteria going on in their food. So, that's something to think about. Okay, well, thank you. I really appreciate that input or that advice, because it's really hard. I think I take it harder watching an animal being harmed than I do my own self, it's just because I can't protect her. And, when I see my children being affected.
Yeah, they know that. They know what hurts you, and that's what they're going to repeat.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary.
Yeah,
okay.
Linda's dogs have been attacked hard, and she's been doing that. She also found that the CBD oil, the animals like that, and they put a little CBD oil in their food. It helps the pain.
Thank you.
Hey, Ella.
Hey.
I was able to find sport organizations, and I just kind of got kind of sidetracked with some other things for the moment. But I sent this information earlier to Frank because the subject came up on his podcast the other day. But there's with us, with all of us being skeptical about going to see doctors and hoping that you can find somebody you trust. So there's 4 organizations that I thought would possibly be of some service, or at least maybe point us in the right direction. And I was hoping to at least get an opportunity to call this week. But one organization is called Physicians for Human Rights. It's out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I do have a phone number for them. And I will hope. I told Frank if I didn't know if he had somebody that was already readily available to make the phone calls, but if not, I could be with some guidance make the phone calls. I didn't know if the word TI, because they mentioned that maybe mentioning TI shouldn't be brought up to the conversation when making these phone calls, which I can understand. But one place is called Physicians for Human Rights. The other organization is called Association for Medical Ethics, and then Doctors Without Borders. And these are just places that perhaps could give us some information to go on and finding doctors that we didn't have to be afraid of seeing, at least. And then there was one last place that it was a psychiatric abuse hotline, and that place was out of St. Louis. But one place is out of California, one place is out of New York, and then one place is out of in Massachusetts. So if anybody has any suggestions in contacting these organizations, that would help. I'm willing to take any kind of advice. But at least I thought it would possibly open a door in getting at least some doctors that some of us could at least go to or be, trusted, that wouldn't abuse us.
I have some suggestions, guys, and I've been telling people on the calls about this. You guys, it can't hurt, but if you download Ted Gunderson's affidavit and a flyer, whatever flyer you want, I don't mean to promote mine all the time, but if you download a flyer, Ted Gunderson's affidavit, and you mail this to your, if you're seeing a psychiatrist, mail it to them anonymously, direct it right to the person, your doctors. You guys were just talking about pets. Be good to send it to them too, the doctors for your pets. So you plant that seed and put that information in there. If you're going to send it to a pet, you could just put at the top, often victims of this crime, their pets are targeted too. That way they'll go ahead and take the time to, to go through the information and scan over it. No matter whether it does something positive or not, you're planting that seed. And those organizations that you're talking about too, you could do the same thing to them. Once a month, make a point to send them a, copy of Ted Gunderson's affidavit and a flyer, maybe a different one each time. But just doing that could do a lot. I mean, it's an envelope and a stamp. I wouldn't suggest emailing it. It's been brought to my attention by some authorities here in Portland that many emails are screened so that they're told to just take those emails and disregard some of them. So keep that in mind when you're doing emails. I was very upset when I was told that. So take it and put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and address it to the person you want it to go to, or organization. And no matter what, you're planting that seed. And that can only help us in the long run. If it doesn't help us right away, it plants that seed. And for those of you who might one day have to come out to your doctor and say, you know what, I didn't want to tell you this because it sounds so crazy and stuff, but I'm actually a targeted individual and this is a crime, they're already going to have that sent to them anonymously, and they're going to maybe have already read about it and stuff, and they might be more apt to help you. So that's just a suggestion.
How do you get the flyer? This is Rochelle. I'm sorry. How do you get the flyer you're talking about?
You can go to my website. I have a flyer page. I have different flyers from different places. I have some of my own flyers of my own design. I'm going to be adding PAX flyers to my website because I believe in it, sharing information. I'm also going to be adding PAX T-shirt to my thing. Any other organizations you guys know that are out there, their flyers and stuff, please send me an email because I will put all of them on there so that you guys can find flyers. You don't have to hunt for them. I have a flyers page. I also have a T-shirt page that you can call a guy I made a deal with and have a T-shirt made. But I urge you guys, If you don't want to go out and wear a T-shirt, put a sign on your rig, and pass out flyers like I'm doing, I'm having great responses, by the way. I mean, I'm really getting to, in the last week, I've gave out 150 flyers. But my point about this is an envelope and some stamps, and send this out anonymously to your people. I would suggest each one of you do it to your doctors and psychiatrists, counselors, whatever, the people that you deal with. And then that way you plant that seed. It can only help.
What's your website? I'm sorry.
It's called StopGangStalkingCrimes.com. When you log on to it, the first part is actually for the public, or I guess TIs too, if you guys want to learn more about the crime and what I found out. But there's a little place that's on the right-hand side, and it says the TIs connection. That portion of the my website is for UTIs and stuff, and I'd like to see more people use it. I put up a memorial and different things, but there's a page for T-shirts, a page for flyers. If anybody has suggestions on things we need or we want to do, let me know. I'm open to everything. My website is for all of us. Every single TI across the world, that's what my website's for.
Okay. StopGangStalkingCrimes.com.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I had something I wanted to say. I should have written it, but I've forgotten. Let's see.
I had something to say, Ella.
Well, sure, go ahead.
This is Andrea.
Oh, go ahead.
I tried when this first started happening to me back in about I think it was 2015, in the fall of 2015. Because I was so censored from being able to make any phone calls anywhere, I finally decided I'd just get in my car and I would drive. When I drove from Grand Junction to New York City, and I went to the Physicians for Human Rights, and I actually went into their offices in New York, along with a whole bunch of other nonprofit agencies that were involved in human rights, Human Rights Watch and Constitution, I forget its Constitutional Rights, CCR, Justice, and just a whole bunch of them in New York. I stayed there for 2 weeks in my car. I slept in my car, and I went around and I gave everybody my story. I had a 26-page document packet that I gave to everybody, and I talked to everyone, and they all said they knew about it, and they said they weren't dealing with it. And these are organizations that deal with torture in other countries. They take people in from other countries and help them with torture, and they absolutely refused to help me. They just told me that they would file my story and goodbye, please go away. And so I even went and I had a 2-hour conversation with one of the psychologists for social responsibility, which was it's an organization that has some of the top-level psychologists against torture, and had attended the psychologists, the APA meeting in Toronto that year, in which Jean Maria Arrigo got up and got the vote for 100-1 against torture at Guantanamo Bay, and against psychologists participating with the CIA in torture. And I sat there in Brooklyn with him and had a 2-hour conversation over a glass of wine and told him my whole story. And, he was like kind of surprised, but at the same time I had a sense that he knew exactly what I was talking about. And I gave him all my information, and he said he would take it to his committee and everything. And then like 3 weeks after I got back home, he sent me back my packet and said he didn't know why, but he just found it and he didn't do anything with it, and he was really sorry, but he didn't know what to do to help me. And so I have to say that the response from these people in these nonprofit groups is so shocking. I mean, I also flew to San Francisco and went to Electronic Frontier Foundation, and they slammed the door in my face. I went to both ACLUs in Denver and Salt Lake City, and they kind of rolled their eyes and looked at their feet and said, well, there's nothing we can do. And so it looks to me as if these people are involved. And they're not helping because they're participating.
Andrea, hold on one second. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Background noise? Does someone have some background noise? Okay, go ahead, Andrea. So sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. I'm sorry about that. So this is my understanding from what I've watched on George Webb's YouTube videos, who you had on, Ella, a while back. And the facts are that there's two sides of a coin, and one is the dark side and the other is the light side. And I think these organizations may actually be the light side participating and pretending to be helping people with human rights, but in actuality, they're the cover for the dark side. And I don't know that that's true, but it's my, after all that I did, I mean, I made huge efforts. I spent tons of money trying to get this out there. I went to Washington, D.C. and went to the Brennan Center Justice Symposium on Government Oversight with the ACLU and the FISA Court. And then I met Thomas Drake, and I spoke to him. And he knew all about it. I talked to Michael German. I mean, I really tried to talk to these people and make some headway, but absolutely I was all alone, and nobody would help me. So it makes me think that this is a coordinated effort to keep everyone silent by putting out the front organizations that pretend to be against it, but actually are working for it, or doing research, or I don't know. But it was absolutely shocking and baffling to me that nobody could talk to me about it.
Well, I think this is my opinion, and I wasn't there, and I'm not you, so I can't tell you what my intuitions would have been, but I think it's just hard for people to believe in general. And if we make it too fantastical because you have some extraordinary events, I think it's harder to believe. So my only suggestion is simplifying our pitch, so to speak, but I don't know. I mean, you could be right, too. I'm just saying I think that happens usually because they just don't believe us. You know, that's all.
Well, they all seem to know about it. They all had heard about it, and that was back in 2015. They were like, yeah, people are coming to us. There's been other people, too. And, you know, they just kind of look the other way, and it's just so surprising when these are such enormous crimes.
Well, I'd like to add something to what you're saying. You're making the perfect point. That's why every TI needs to get out there and hand out flyers and stuff. If we had the public behind us, organizations would be forced to change what they're doing. So what you're saying is just reiterating that we have to bring public awareness up. We have to get out there as individual TIs and do our part to fight this crime and bring the public aware. So
yes, I agree with you. I agree with you, and that is how it stopped. I had it stop on me 2 months ago because I went around to everyone in my town locally. It actually worked much better to go local. And then I also wrote an email to the person who I believe targeted me, and then it all stopped. And so I just let them know how angry I was at what they did to me and how much it's hurt me. And then it all sort of wound up and stopped. And you know, I am trying to expose it to I've asked the police force if I can come and give them a presentation on it, and I'm going to go on Monday and go to the Democrats organization in town and tell them about it. And I'm also going to go to another organization in town called the Humanist Organization. They're doing nice things for people. And I'm going to just try to bring that flyer that that Mojer put at the G20 talking about declassifying the weapons, and just bring it up and say, look, I would like to make a commission that's a Truth and Reconciliation Commission worldwide. That's what I think would put us in the, instead of on the defensive, it would put us out in front, and we could say worldwide, come together as a group and organization and appoint people who have done this kind of work worldwide before and been successful at it. And there are hundreds, literally hundreds of truth and reconciliation commissions that have taken place in countries where this has happened, this sort of stuff. So I'm going to go to my organizations and tell them that I'm looking to do that, and here's the information about what's going on. I have the experience, and if you have any more questions, just ask me.
I'd like to reiterate what you just said. You just said something that's so important that I've been trying to tell people, and what you just said reiterated that. You said you went locally like I'm doing, and you had response, and a lot of things are stopping.
Yes.
Thank you for that testimony. That is the way we're going to beat this crime, people. Listen to what the lady just told you. It's the same thing I've been telling you. Same thing 5 people are telling me that they're doing what I'm doing now. They're targeting stuff. Stalking is going away. Things are changing. This is the way we will beat this. Thank you for sharing that testimony with us.
Well, the shocking part is that the city council and the county council know about this because they're funding the police forces. And if they fund those police forces, they've got to know that they're doing this. And they also know who's making money in town, because this is human trafficking. It's making huge money for people. And so they knew, and I could see on their faces, they looked down at the floor when I gave my testimony at those county and city meetings, city council meetings, and those people knew, and they were embarrassed. And they, I think, are talking, and they realize we live in such a small town. If this gets out, they're going to have to leave town, or they could go to jail for what they've done. So, you know, they know it's coming home, and they're getting afraid.
Can I say something? Hi, this is James Lico.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. No, it's starting to get really
James, here I am. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
I did.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm sorry, James. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was trying to respond to you, and I finally realized you can't hear me.
Okay. Can I say something?
Oh, please do.
All right. I just wanted to. The lady who's just talking sounds like she's doing a great job. The problem is that the way the government looks at us is as insurgents. We're insurgents, which means that we're like terrorists. It's another word for terrorist. And what they do with insurgents is that they have instituted this Phoenix program to war on the people, and it's a psyops to terrorize everybody, because they know that if the people are terrorized, then they will back off from things, and they will wonder whether they should say anything or not. They want all that fear, and they don't want anybody to say anything, of course. And also, so when you get to the well, I just wanted to say that they have counterinsurgency teams, which are really murder for hire or death squads in America now. So that's what these people are doing. It's part of the COINTELPRO or COIN, COIN, and it's part of the Phoenix program. Unfortunately, this is so complicated that you have to read a lot and study up on it, or just get the points you need and focus on those. It's hard to tell people and explain to them what's going on. You have to kind of pick and choose what you're going to do and make it believable. I think what they can hear, what they want to hear, what they will hear, and what they will believe. So also, I wanted to talk or tell you about the torture people who are anti-torture groups, and they know about it. Yeah, they know about it, and the reason they don't want to hear about it is because they're afraid. They're afraid that they will get shut down, you got to realize that these groups, like, human rights groups, they're not for profit, but they do have people who work there who earn a living, and they don't want to lose their jobs.
That's
and
right.
They know that the government will target them or their whole operation. And a lot of them, they're nonprofits who are infiltrated by the government, by specifically the CIA. It's not, and they aren't going to do anything at all. And the ones who are just afraid, they're not going to do anything because they don't want to lose their jobs. So it's the same thing everywhere in America. This Phoenix program has struck fear into everybody, and they're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of dying. They're afraid of being really turning into one of us. So yeah, they know about it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. We have to force them. You see, they're not going to be automatically stopped. Any person's not going to be automatically stopped. But if everybody rises up at once, of course, that would be ideal, and that would stop it right away. But it's not going to happen like that. It's going to happen in dribs and drabs. But the people who rise up have to be at least brave enough not to do it, and to not think that they will be targeted. And so it's a dilemma, and that's all I wanted to get across, that they know about it. They're just not doing anything because they're afraid. So I'm going to turn it back over. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, in my opinion, I disagree. I think a lot of people don't know about it, but that's just my opinion. There's two opinions on that. But I'm sure there are people, though, and organizations that, certain organizations may know about it. But I can just say that after all the outreach I've done, I can sense a sense that they don't know about it. They seem really surprised. But, who knows? I don't know if everyone knows. Maybe they do.
Yeah, you're right. People don't know about it. That's individuals don't know about it. But groups like the human rights groups, they know about it.
Hello?
Hello.
This is James.
But you know what? I think that maybe initially they didn't, but how many of us have reached out, written letters?
Hold on one second, guys. It's distortion. Hold on, guys.
Hi guys, this is Rochelle. I think what happens is that by now they know of us. All of us have made our individual complaints, and we've made it as a unit, and it's been years. So for them not to know at this point, I think what happens is they start to scratch the surface and decide that this is too big of an issue for them to take on. They are afraid. I believe they are afraid. And but there's no way that they don't know by now. With all of the complaints for years, there's no way they don't know. And the human rights organizations, they know what the bad guy is capable of. So so they choose not to come to our defense because they are afraid. The other thing is I've decided pretty much for now, when I start receiving no's, I'm going to ask. I'm going to put the ball back in your court to say, okay, what should I have done in order to get a yes from you? What are the steps involved? And then that way, tell me what the steps are. And so that way I can go that route, or we can go that route, So you're telling me no, but now I want to get, how do you tell me, how do I get a yes from you? And by that way, I would think that now I can follow the steps in order to get a yes from you. Let me know what I need to do. What do I need to do in order to get a yes from your organization?
Okay. Thanks, Rochelle. James, I'm so sorry. Maybe you got disconnected. Would you like to finish your thoughts?
Well, I was just saying that it's not individuals may still not know. I'm sure that there's individuals that don't know, but the human rights groups, anti-torture and whatever, they already know about it. They don't want to lose their jobs.
Yeah, well, no, also some people may know within the organization, but I personally just don't believe it. I think they probably read it and think it's crazy and toss it or laugh about it a lot of times, unless it's really written credible. But, yeah, I just still have a different opinion.
Well, there's
people may
the
know.
organization, the head people of the organization are receiving payment, from the organization, and they probably know about it. The people who may not know about it are the organization members. If they have a lot of supporting members, like thousands, then they may not know about it. Maybe they're just one-issue people who are who come in, for one issue, and they only know about that, and they don't know, side. Well, it's not really a side issue, but it's torture, and it's on people in America who are just trying to live. And this is what America has done for years. And they've got the attitude that they can go anywhere in the world, just take anything they want. Among the, the G20, I don't know what that was for, the G20 summit, they just had Poland made a statement about this torture, which is really nice. But, they'll all talk and avoid stepping on the United States' toes, using their language and avoiding the issue.
Lauren, I think your line, I'm so sorry to interrupt, James. I'm sorry I'm interrupting. I'm just trying to make a point. Lauren's line has a lot of noise on it. So when you're ready to speak, Lauren, just go ahead and unmute then. It's showing on my board. It's Lauren's line. But I'm sure it's not her. It's just someone's.
Okay, thank you.
So I think these smaller human rights groups need to be forced into doing this, because they're not going to do it voluntarily. They don't want to, it means their job also, but it also means the end of their human rights group. But it won't be, because this is true, and if the CIA starts doing something to them, we can stand up and say, get your hands off. This is, we're trying to, correct things that are wrong. This is really big, and we need to stand behind them, because, like the whistleblowers who are standing up, we need to support them. We need to support our experts. We need to support a lot of people, and we need to, just get in the CIA's face if they do anything, and find out, tell what's going on, and we need to really do that. And we need to force, I think, the human rights groups to do something, because they're not going to do it on their own. It means their job. They're going to sit back and just make excuses. And whatever they say, it's not real. It might be the reason they say, if they're saying we're just making excuses, because that's really what they're doing. Okay, I'll just turn it back over.
Can I say something about that?
Okay, hold on one second, guys. We have quite a few people on the board now. It's about 50. So let other people speak as well. So we can come back to you if no one else wants to speak. But go ahead, Andrea.
I just wanted to say that out in front of that issue, James, is, the ACLU did have that symposium on government oversight, which is a whole day of meeting with the church committee and with the FISA court and the top lawyer at the ACLU in 2015, and with the Brennan Center for Justice in Washington, D.C. It took place in Washington, D.C. So they are the ones that know about this the most, and that symposium was about this in specific. It was actually about, the laws that allow this to happen, and getting the FISA court to come forward and say, why are you doing this? And the FISA court judge sat there with his, legs apart and, sort of
they
this
don't want to do anything.
Cowboy attitude, like, well, it's not our problem. And so I am reticent to hand this power to any nonprofit organization, to give them the power to take this issue on, because they could twist it in any way they'd like. So that's why I think that Mojer's idea of having a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and Catherine Austin Fitts has also said this too, that would be a more powerful thing for us to do. We could keep it in our own hands and monitor it ourselves rather than giving our power away again to someone else.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Lauren, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, when I was listening to everyone, I too, like a lot of targets, went to nonprofits as well as like governmental agencies, DOJ, FBI, and as everyone else, I was not received or got the generic cookie cutter letter back. We don't handle it. Some of them have been patronizing with maybe you need to see like mental issues, but nonetheless, as a community, we're still being persecuted and prosecuted. And I really feel that what the young man Terry said about locally, I don't have any problem with that. But I don't have any problem with governmental as well. I feel like handling it almost like the civil rights. And they had a 3-step of exposure, outrage, justice. And they hit it local marching as well as writing legislative laws. They hit it at every level all at once. They made the whole racism, discrimination as the target. So I really think our ideals are good, but we need to come together and just say, okay, well, this group is handling, governmental. This one wants to, work with the nonprofits, and this one wants to do all the local level. All are good because the target we're trying to get is exposure. And anytime, and when we see one area that's weakening and we get through, then we all chime in together to get this exposed. So then Joe Blow, a normal American citizen, will find out about this as the rest of the masses, and they will be outraged.
Yeah.
Because they'll realize it can happen to them, it can happen to me, and how easy it can happen. The first thing also I wanted to hit, too, is workplace mobbing. There's a lot of people that saw it, didn't understand it. I didn't either. But a lot of us are mobbed and then blacklisted off of future employment.
That's right.
So they're centering us, harnessing us, and I just feel I think we, as a community, we need to get it out of, I think a little bit outside of the box. There's no perfect way. If you have a group of individuals that are good at trying to work through legislative laws with the federal government or international, let them do it, because human trafficking is just a fancy word for slavery that's been abolished 156 years ago. It's abominable, and that right there is a crime against humanity. Slavery has been abolished. When we call these people what they really are, it brings it on home. They're domestic terrorists. Trafficking is slavery. It's abominable.
Yeah, and when people suggest that we're mentally ill, they need a verbal slap in the face, because that's really, it shows they're ignorant.
It is ignorant, and it's patronizing. For one thing, that we're not crazy. Nobody can stay on a career and a job 20 or more years. You can't bathe and pay your bills and still be mental. It doesn't operate like that. Mental people cannot process, and they certainly cannot do the routine. The routine is life. We pay bills. We eat. We cook. We shop. We have to clean. That's routine. The doldrums. People that are mentally ill cannot do that day in and day out. So it's really insulting. And again, I want to thank you all too, and I don't want to take much of your time, Ella, because I know you have a lot of people. Thank you all. Personal thank you and gratitude for calling our elder in our community, Elvira Williams, that has been falsely Baker acted. That means mental slap. All calls are still encouraged. So far, she has not been released.
That's what I want to ask about. Elvira, that's a 954 area code. That's where I am. Are they able to get visitors, or how? I'm going to call the number, but
I'll be happy, ma'am, to tell you exactly where she is. And by the way, sometimes HIPAA laws, when you call about someone you're concerned, hospitals will try to block you. I did not know where Elvira was. I just asked the guy, hypothetically, someone has to be transported to a mental facility. What hospital do you guys use? He said, I would think the closest, Imperial Point Mental Facility in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That was the first and only number I called, and that's where she was. Yes.
Okay, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, because when they said 954, I'm like, she has to be near me. So I'll definitely call her and find out what's happening with her. I don't know, if being able to go to a facility makes any difference or not. I'm not sure, but I'll definitely call her because she's local.
I think that's very kind and generous on your spirit. I think it makes all the difference, and I can't stress it enough. Phone calls, when you are placed like that falsely, no one calling, not even your mama, your sister, they feel happy trafficking your benefits. Nobody's gonna call about her or him. Nobody. When they start getting those phone calls, they begin to get insecure. Who is she? Who does she know? Who does she belong to? And it begins to stress the workers there. Call after call after call. The same thing with our activism. If it's governmental, go for it. If it's local with your T-shirts, as Terrence, go for it. We need to be like the civil rights group. Get up. Stand up. Stop stooping.
That's right. The other thing I want to say, we need numbers, and unfortunately, that's part of our issue. Is each person? I don't know how many people aren't signing things, aren't agreeing with things, but it sounds as if we could use additional numbers when it comes to just an investigation. I looked into what would initiate a governmental investigation, for us, and there's it's a high number of names on a petition. There's this website called change.org. And I mentioned this before. That's a way of just getting support all we're asking for is support in getting an investigation. We're not asking you to become one of us or join our, a member and all that. Just, I tell you, I sign my name. And it's so quickly done and so easily done. And it's a website that's already involving people that care about others and things and issues. So, and they come up with 50,000, 100,000 names plus. Because it gives you an account of how many people are actually signing these petitions. I think that's a way of us adding to our numbers from just outside communities. Everybody, we just want to get an investigation started by way of our government, and I think that's a definite way of getting that added support from outside of our.
I feel that the masses that are ignorant of what we're living through, the sad part is they have been enslaved as well. They just don't know it. Well, anyway, Ella, thank you again. And everyone, I will be on the Truth Hour tonight. My time is always like a dime on TalkShoe. My call is 142-124. My name is Lauren. And again, blessings to all and power to the persecuted saints. Thank you, Ella.
Blessings to you too, Lauren. I really appreciate you too. She's just a strong activist and advocate for our cause, and she's got a great call, and she's got great interviewing skills, just personal note. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so anybody else? This week I'm going to try something new. I mean, I'll probably have I might have a guest or two, but I'd like to hear from people who don't usually speak. I think this week I'm going to start it out just trying to get people. Might wait and see somebody who is being overly polite or someone that hasn't had a chance to speak. You don't have to give your name, so we can hear your opinions. I think, we have some strong speakers and people who are very active and communicating, and so, don't be afraid to speak up. And the first time you do it, it might be uncomfortable. The second time it gets easier, Some people that are considered great communicators are some of the shy people you ever knew. They were the people who were too afraid to speak up and wanted to hide under a rock, and, it just takes practice, that's all. And your voice is something important to learn to have confidence in, because that's what's going to make a difference. Okay. All right, guys, star, if you'd like to communicate or if you'd like to speak. And if you're having
I'd like
problem,
to say that.
Go ahead.
That website the lady was talking about, change.org, I do a lot of stuff through that.
Yeah, and Bill Binney is
great...
associated. Oh, sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that websites like that are a great way to do things. another thing is any of you are really great writers, go to these petition websites and write out a really good petition. Or if you don't want to submit it, write one out, send it to me, and I'll submit it, and we'll post it on everybody's websites and get people to sign it. Those are another way to generate interest. But like somebody said earlier, we have to start showing our numbers. That's why it's so important. I can't reiterate. Do the surveys, take the database at my website, guys. We've got to show our numbers. Authorities here in Oregon told me that is one of the most important things, is to collect data and show our numbers. We have to show how big this is and what type of, the largeness of this crime. So please get involved, guys, as much as you can, and work at whatever ideas are thrown at you.
And also, if you've come late to the call, which most people have at this point, the beginning of the call was probably the most important information, so I'll send you guys the link, and I would strongly suggest listening to it. We were just talking about some of the COINTEL tactics going on, and, people coming in trying to, create negativity and paranoia and fear, and trying to influence people not to take the survey, which is probably one of the most important things.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Ken.
Oh, how are y'all doing?
Oh, hi, Ken. Doing all right today.
Yeah, I would like to convey some information that's really been helpful in explaining about the program and how it's working, because Annie Jacobson's wrote 3 books now, and the latest one talks about MKUltra, Paperclip, and several of the other programs. The book's called Phenomena, and a lot of people are reading it. And I've rifled through it and also found some relevant information on the MKUltra program. So, anybody that wants to know about what's going on and when the United States started this testing on government citizens should probably really read each of her books. The one is Area 51, the latest one is Phenomena, then there's one, The Pentagon's Brain. But anyway, she's done a great job of research. I personally contacted her and let her know I was a victim and gave her a link to my book, Persecuted But Not Forsaken. And one of the victims down in Texas read it, and she loved it. She said she couldn't put it down. So my book's out there. I hope Annie gets it, and I mean, she's done all the research, on the top level of this targeting, and when she gets my book, then she'll know who was on the bottom level, and that's basically what I stated to her. So that's what I tell people, and then they're really interested in anybody who's got a bestseller. They'll look it up immediately and start researching it, and so that's something everybody might want to get acquainted with, is Annie Jacobson's latest book.
Thank you, Ken. Books are a great way to give us an education and kind of give us an understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, she explains it very, very clearly, all the way from the Philadelphia experiment to psychic research. Oh gosh, what else? Oh, she's done a lot of interviewing. She goes back to Sidney Gottlieb in the MKUltra program, and some of the other major players. I can't run their names off right now. Jose Delgado was involved in trying to remotely send voices and get people to do things without them knowing about it. So it's a good book, and it'll help people understand, just what has happened.
Thank you, Ken. I really appreciate it. Of course, anybody who contributes really, really appreciate it, and people listening will get some new information that hopefully will help them. And
yeah, and they're welcome to read my book. I've made it a little pricey on Amazon for $18, but if they send me $15, I'll send them a copy. And the book talks about my targeting from when I was about 12 years old right up till the present day, of everything I've been through. I chronicled it all the way through. I lost a few years, had to go back, revisit them because of what happened. But it's a good read, about 142 pages, 29 chapters, I think it is, something like that. It's a good read. Got a lot of drama in it. probably be perfect for a movie setting. So it's not like a memoir. I've set it up with a little drama up front, and I just go into when I became aware of this crap, and then started at my birth about this in the chapter 1, which is actually like almost the third chapter, and talk about the destruction of my family, implanting in my ears when I was 12, and so on and so forth. So anyway, it's Persecuted but Not Forsaken at Amazon Books, and I'll be glad to send you a copy.
Well, thank
$15.
you. Thank you, Ken. You know, Ken is one of the original activists, and the whole reason organizations even started, FFCHS, I believe specifically, was because of Ken and a couple of people decided it was time to do something and get some phone numbers together. And so, yeah, I'm thankful, Ken. You really got something going in the beginning, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, I started the petition, and it got us to, well, what it did is separate the goats from the sheep. There were so many perps on there. That's why I started the petition, and to try to figure out who was who. But the real guys, the real victims, responded, and that's what I needed to know. Once I started getting their stories, I thought, oh, well, let's get together. And then we started. It just kind of blossomed from there on. So it's not, we're doing the best we can. We're just all in the same boat. Everybody's a little bit different fates, got a different situation, going through different targeting, but, everybody really needs to grab an oar and just paddle and beat away the perps, hold the flag up, for help, and ask for help and work together and continually try to eat food and stay strong while we're going on, and eventually reach shore and get these people to leave us alone. So that's the best analogy I can give right now.
Can I ask Ken a question? Can you hear me, Ken?
Yes, I can.
It's Rochelle. I've for some reason, and I take people, for their word, and that just listening to you and how long, you've been targeted. With Bill Clinton making that announcement in 1994, in reference to people being, experimented on, that didn't make a bit of difference did they not contact you, or there was no kind of contact or in connection to him owning up to and apologizing for people being abused?
No, nothing helped us on that account at all. In fact, most of us, I got targeted worse. He came out with some kind of declaration that, there's been people experimented on in the hospitals with radiation, and I somehow believe the Energy Department was also involved, and they sent out a questionnaire. I remember that, and I actually responded to that questionnaire, and of course I just got targeted worse. So then they gave him a stroke. Shortly after he did that, they went ahead and knocked him down. So that was the fallout from that, and nothing came of that. I don't even believe for those radiation victims, but that was the ionizing radiation issue. I believe that was occurring in the hospitals where so many people got sick. So now Annie probably wrote a lot about that because she wrote about that Area 51, and that's what he was revealing, if I'm not mistaken. So I actually got that book on order. I want to rifle through that and check out some of that information. But one thing I didn't realize is that there were 144 projects within MK Ultra, and that's new to me. I'm pretty sure the one I was involved in with its 36,000 Native Americans unwitting victims was like sub-project 51 or 58. Annie quotes sub-project 58 actually. So I'm kind of interested in, what are all the other projects? So there's still a lot of information out there that, we need to keep searching and looking at and keep putting it back out in the public's eyes, and getting them to think. So it's, it's a slow process, but it's wonderful to know there are people, out there, coming out with books and videos and whatnot, whether they're orally speaking about this, and possibly a lot of confessions going on we don't even know about, which that'd be great. So no, to answer your question, nothing good came of that for me. I didn't get no letter in the mail. Now, I'm not necessarily, an acknowledged victim. I haven't seen my name on a list, but, I mean, all the circumstantial evidence points to a lot of us being MK Ultra victims. I mean, we had the 3-6 tags on us. They put me in a 3-6 address. They gave me a 3-6 military occupational specialty code. I mean, 3-6s was tagged all over my whole life, and that's part of the 3-6 MK Ultra program. So, I mean, all this circumstantial, and then, of course, someone did needle me with all this damn toxins in my ears when I was 12 in my bedroom, so, and then it didn't stop. So, all the circumstantial evidence, which is, I mean, that's good. I mean, when it builds up to a point where it's real, then it's truth. So I went on that premise, and of course, Lynn Weed, had all the MK Ultra information on her website, Keep the Ethical Light Burning. So she's done a whole lot of research. So that was good. So it's just taking a lot of people to try to get this information out of the woodwork. So when we do get it, then we can really act. And that's what I'm going on faith with my book, saying, look, you've done this to me, you've done this to my mother, you did this to my father, and you drove my brother crazy. They brought a doctor down from Maryland, and that's where they started testing all this shit at. I didn't mean to carry on too much, but at that Edgewood Arsenal where they started testing chemicals on the soldiers. Well, my mother was suddenly going with a man 20 years her senior, a doctor from the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and that was crazy. And he came down there for one purpose, was to implant her. I have no doubt in my mind, because that's when he suddenly left. I came home from the Army, and she went crazy, and then I had to deal with that. So my story just keeps adding up, and of course then they implanted me again when I wrote the petition to get us all together. They came after me again and got to me. But so I got a tremendous amount of evidence plus the crap I'm carrying around in my body. So I went out in faith and wrote it down in that book and say, look, this is what y'all have done to me. And I want justice for my mother and my father. But I don't know what everybody else has got, but if you got any evidence, by all means, write it down and put it back on them. Put it out in the public. Try to make it, sound reasonable, and truthful, and throw it out there. I mean, they can't do nothing but kill you. And I've had that. They've done that to me several times, but I'm still here. So, but we got to get this crap exposed because innocent people are dying. Kids, old people. I mean, these people bothering us are crazy. I don't even think they know what they're doing. They're so crazy. So anyway, that's where I'm at in this, and I'm going to keep fighting and working every breath I got till I pass to get this crap out in the open and get justice for my mother, because she was one of the sweetest individuals on earth, and they did nothing but harass her for 20, 25, 30 years at least. So that's where I'm at. But anyway, you might actually refer them to my book. Say, look, this guy is a target all his life, and this is validation. This crap is going on. Read the book. So, I mean, I don't mind that at all. I mean, I did use my middle and last name as the author. I wanted to buffer it a little bit because I'm tired of these people trying to kill me, which has happened 9 times now, and I can't take it no more. I'm just really, that's where I'm at. I'm getting older. But, I mean, refer them to my book. Say, get this book, and get the petition, and get this other person's stories, and get this videotape, and get these recordings off these calls and put them all together, and damn it, do something. Whether it's at the Health and Human Services Agency or the Department of Government Department, Federal Department, or the Energy Department, or the Intel Agency, we just got to keep pressing and do their job. So anyway, that's where I stand. I put something on my blog as much as I can. I tell the police, this is what's happening. They had a big article down here in Myrtle Beach. They went and trained all the police on how to look for somebody, focus on try to understand how people are mentally ill and what to look for. That's what they did. They went and trained them people. Well, I answered that on my blog. I said, no. They look for people who are targeted or possible victims of implant. And here's how you do it. Look at the numbers, the 3-6 crap, and I put other symptoms that we sometimes might have, sounding credible as I could, to alert them. Look around the area. Is somebody overseeing the situation like some of these foreigners do when they tried to keep a victim under surveillance? I gave the police all the tips I can, and keep things calm. Get those vehicles out there that are using antenna radiations, get them out of there, because that's only making the situation worse, because the victim is implanted more than likely. And so move them back some, calm things down, trying to get them to understand what sets a victim off and to deal with it so nobody gets killed anymore. So that's where I'm at. I just keep putting much news as I can out there, and of course I get targeted more, but that's the way it's going to be. So if we all do that, they're going to turn on our side. They're going to take it to the authorities and say, why are you giving us all this bad information on the computer about so and so, blah blah blah, and why is this criminal telling me he's hearing voices in the head to tell me to do this crime? That's what we got to do. We got to alert these people, and tell them, there's somebody else behind all this damn crime, and it ain't John Doe in your backseat of your vehicle right now, more than likely. So anyway, so I know there's I know there's bound to be people in the computer industry and Intel that can, shut some of this human targeting frequencies down, and but that's the situation we're up against. But I just keep screaming and hollering. But I don't want to take up the whole call, but please, can everybody keep just fighting in faith and.
Thanks, Ken. Yaya, I was hoping to bring you on. Yaya heard something very interesting, and I was hoping she could share with people. Yaya, let me see if I can find her. It was very interesting. Where did she go? There she is. Here we go. Hi, Yaya.
Hi, hon. How are you?
Doing okay.
Good. I just wanted to share with everyone that when you least expect it, out of nowhere, you hear something on TV about this. So I was cleaning this morning, had, of all things, the Shaw of Sunset, that show on, had it on, and so with Andy Cohen, and one of the characters, Asa, who's Persian, out of nowhere, Andy Cohen said to her, he said, I heard that you were put on the CIA terrorist watch list because of your artwork. And she said, yes, that's very true. She said, I have been surveilled. I had CIA agents in front of my home. And she said, it's all because of my artwork that I was put on the terrorist watch list. And they didn't expound on it. That's basically all they said. And they showed some of her artwork that got her on the terrorist watch list. But I thought that was, pretty exciting to hear. And that, she admitted to be surveilled. And so, it'd be neat to get her on your show, Ella, and hear what she has to say.
Yeah, I think that would be
great. So when you least expect it, of all shows, I never watched that show, and so I just happened to have it on, and so it was kind of neat to hear, actually. So people know what's going on. More people know than what we think.
Yeah.
And I agree with Lauren and with Ken. We have to keep, fighting like the civil rights, get it out there, just keep moving. And, with the civil rights, it was a complete plan that was put into place. It wasn't that they just got together every now and then and protested. It was a planned movement. And that's what, we need to do. and not stop. But it's not like, one small protest here or one small writing campaign there. It is a full-out, full-blown, planned, assault onto our own government and onto our own, newspapers and our representatives. I mean, this just is so wrong. And so I think, we need to do that. So I'm going to try to contact this Asa myself. I think she's on Twitter, and I'd like to contact her and see what she has to say.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say today. Hope everyone's doing good.
Thank you.
Going back to civil rights and the advances made during civil rights, it got recognition also because people decided not to spend money. You have to hit folks in their pockets in order to get their attention. So I don't know if there's enough of us, to maybe come to a day where we don't spend a buck or contribute to anything that aids in our being attacked. I don't know if it's from using cell phones. You turn off your cell phones, you turn off your televisions, you not spend $1, whatever. If it's enough of us to make a difference, So that's why there were some advances made during civil rights because they stopped spending their dollars in places, and that's and that's the attention that caused. Well, that was a step that caused everybody else or the powers that be to pay attention. The pockets are what they understand, money. Mm-hmm. They don't care about people.
Right. Or, if you start targeting one of their businesses, I mean, they own all kinds of businesses, not just corporations, but, even smaller businesses and stuff. And so, they need to be outed. I mean, that is our line of defense. And, for myself, I mean, not only I'm a target, but, it's huge spousal abuse on my end, and it's widely known here in Arizona, who my ex is, that he's tried to kill me, and yet I have a hard time getting help.
Oh, yeah,
just because who he is and that he's a DOD contractor. I mean, talk about abuse. So, anyhow.
I'm sorry. I know it's awful to hear that story. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Some people have it worse,
California, you're unmuted, and we hear your background noise. One of the Californias. Okay, guys. So if you guys want to make some suggestions for guests, I can do my very best to reach out to them. You guys always give me great suggestions. You can email me at tiangel2016@gmail.com. I'll also, if you're kind of late to the call, I'll try to send you the link to it so you can listen to the call in its entirety. I thought it was a really important one. Okay, so I'm going to just stop the recording, and if people want to talk about, if we want to move on to support, we can do that for a little while. Typically I stop, but, I'm willing to keep it open for 30 more minutes for anybody who needs a little support. I do like the support part not to be recorded, when people are giving private information. It makes them more comfortable anyways if it's not recorded. So let me just go ahead and turn that part off.
We've got to try and walk away from fear. We've got to try and get into normalcy of life. Yes, we have fear, but put that aside if you can and devote a small amount of time every day to becoming like you were. Like, what did you used to enjoy? Reading the newspaper? Did you enjoy watching your favorite movies? Did you enjoy reading a book? Did you enjoy art? Did you enjoy building or creating? If we could devote a small amount of time every day, we can come back to ourselves and take hold of ourselves and not allow them to take 100% of our life. I think it's really important that we try to struggle away from that, even though I know it's very, very difficult. But if you just do like 15 minutes a day, you'll find yourself becoming more stronger. Now that's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for your opinion. You know, and the other thing I wanted to point out is they are separating your names and from the data, and it is just your symptoms. You know, you're not like identifying your family members, your close friends, you know, anything like that. It's your symptoms and what you experience. So I don't see that. I don't understand the fear myself. And if you don't know who Bill Binney is, rent from Amazon or get your hands on The Good American. This is probably one of the most respected, noble men that have been involved with the agencies. They took a big risk by confronting the government and sticking up for the Constitution. And you know, their lives were destroyed. They've rebuilt, and they're still working on getting their liens back from their homes from the government. So, not the lien, yet getting the lien removed from their properties. So they're still trying to recover from what they did, the chances they took because they believed in the Constitution, and they were very. It was alarming to them what was going on, this data collecting of every single American citizen. So, you know, yeah, sometimes people make these comments about Bill Binney because they don't really know about him, you know. So, you know, I have 110% faith in him, and I trust him immensely. If you read the history, you'll see what he went through. And he, you know, and he continues to defend the Constitution, and he's taking a risk once more. Trying to prove the existence of these programs. So anyways, that's my closing statement on that topic. So on some other topics. Okay, so I wish Paula was here. I'd like to hear how his vigil went. I know there was a vigil just a few days ago, and I hope that went well. Alicia in Philadelphia is planning a protest October 10th in Philadelphia. If you want to participate in that, I know she could use the support. Email me at tiangel2016@gmail, and I will forward her the information. I don't know if, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I gave her email address, but I just want to confirm that. And then we have two people here in the United States, that are in mental institutions, and one is Todd Giffen. I need to get a phone number, an accurate phone number. I had like 30 emails from him, and I couldn't find the phone number he wanted us to call. So I will get more details on that. It's interesting because Tuesday I had a guest, and he's a non-TI, and he works in the mental health field. He's a PhD in social services. And he's also the brother-in-law of Dr. Matthew Aaron, and he came on and gave us such great input.
No idea how important that is. The other thing is, please don't be scared to take it. Your information's already out there. The only thing the survey can do, or any of them, like the database at my website, is help us. It helps prove the crime. It's going to help show what's happening to people, how many people the different things are happening to. That data is very, very important for this fight. And, you know, somebody earlier on a phone call before I got on Ella's call today said, well, what do you think, Terry, about it? Bill Binney and all this, the movie thing, and the fact they went in his house and now he's a free person and everything, and is he a perp? No, I don't think so, guys. I think what it is people are trying to feed some disinformation into our community to try to stop this survey. I urge you all to not worry about your information and stuff. Please take the surveys, participate on anything that's helping us build data, because that's one of the things that authorities have told me are lacking. And be careful when you listen to certain people. Listen to what they say. Like, if they tell you that there's a supercomputer that's going to ruin your life and there's no way out, and then in a couple of sentences later they say you can beat it by listening to music, your brain should logically hit inside your head and say there's something wrong with those two statements putting together. Because if you're a supercomputer and there's no way out, then how can it all of a sudden be defeated by music? I just want to point these things out to people, because the doom and gloom, we really got to stop. Everybody, please try to be uplifting, encourage people, give your positive testimonies.
I agree. Thank you, Terry. And on that note, too, you know, there's certain personalities, and Brian, too, is one of them, and I can think of a couple other people off the top of my head. They speak with such authority. And just because they speak with authority, there's something about, when we grew up with teachers and our parents, if someone speaks with authority, we kind of expect them to be telling the truth. Or it's just something I think as human beings, when someone speaks like that, we tend to believe them. It's just something, the way that, it's just human condition. And so, no matter who it is speaking with conviction, you have to think about it. It doesn't mean they're 100% accurate. And, and then they have their own personalities, if someone has some psychological issues, and that's going to kind of play into the information as well. And I think the healthiest thing we can do is question your own self and take in new information, because if someone says this is the only way that this is happening, everybody else's program is disinformation. They're wrong, and that's what Brian too does. He says there's only one way that these programs work, and it's the only way. When I know for a fact there's gang stalking, I know that everybody's is slightly different, and that's a fact because I talk to hundreds of people. And that's just not that I don't believe there's only one way that this is happening. There are different groups of people that do different types of things. I think this is just my opinion. And I always use a qualifier word because I don't know for a fact. I suspect, that's a qualifying word, that there are rogue groups as well as, these really expensive deep state programs that are going on. I just think that's healthy, and I question myself a lot, like, is that true? Is that a possibility? And sometimes we don't know. We can only speculate. So, just be careful. We worry greatly. There's people that are leaders in this community for 20 years, not 20, but maybe 10, and they worry about these types of statements too. Because we worry about these people because if you're new, and I remember being new to the community, I believed everybody, but it got confusing because everyone started saying different things. So, when you're new, you're a little bit naive, and, but time will show you a little bit that a person's character is a certain way, that they do certain things, that, they have a tendency to call. Welcome to the Saturday's Freedom for Targeted Individuals podcast today. I'm your moderator, Ella, and this is a community group. It's not just mine. At the top of the discussion, we will make any activism announcements, discuss any letter writing campaigns, discuss any legal matters and or developments. The goal is to inspire and implement, more importantly, ideas and come up with strategies to carry them out. If you'd like to speak, just hit star on your phone. That will unmute you. And then if you want to mute yourself again, or if you have background noise, star once more. So star is what you need to know. And there are some basic guidelines to follow to keep the unity within the group. Please use common courtesy while discussing matters. Please allow the person to finish speaking before responding. Sometimes I might have to interrupt if someone goes on a very long monologue. So I apologize for interrupting ahead of time. I suggest keeping a notepad close by to take notes or to write down your questions while you're waiting to speak. Just be respectful overall, and I think it'll be a great meeting. Let's see. It's important to remember the theme of the call. If you feel that it's urgent and you do need some immediate support, we can try to accommodate your request. I cannot impress upon you the importance of acting upon the ideas and plans discussed. And on that note, I'll go ahead and we'll begin our discussion. So Terry and I were just having a discussion, and we think it's really important to find him. Because I can't see everybody on the board, you're going to have to unmute yourself with star. Terry, I'm looking for you. I do see a couple people on here. I don't see Terry. I wonder if it's knocking people off. Terry? That's unfortunate.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of sluggish or something.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that's about.
Yeah, now I don't see you on the board, so I won't know how many people are actually here, and I don't think other people will be able to see how many people are on the call either, because now I can't see you. I see just a few people. So prior to the recording or me starting the recording, we were having a discussion about what occurred on a call last night, on Linda's call, Linda Costanzo, who is another moderator. And, there's some concerns because one particular person came in and is trying to dissuade people from the survey. It was Brian too. And anyway, so go ahead, Terry, and you can explain what you thought and your impressions and about Matthew coming on and trying to kind of counteract some of that negativity.
Okay, first of all, I want to say, guys, whoever's here, and please repeat this, the survey that's being done, you can find it on many websites now and stuff. It's being shared. Go fill out the survey and fill out the information truthfully and stuff. Please do not corrupt the data and repeat what somebody else has said or somebody else did. Do by only what has been done to you. That's it. I mean, Brian, too, last night said on a show, and I don't mean nothing against Brian, too, but I just want to point this out. It seemed to be a very deliberate attempt to corrupt the data that's taken in this survey. He said to go to the Discovery and look up his stuff and reference what he had spoke about, and it was on that. That's a direct attempt to try to corrupt data. Brian, too, is smart enough to know that by sending people to that article and having them read it, to copy data and reference it, is going to corrupt the data. We wouldn't, and the survey would become useless. We can't have that. You guys got to fill it out, and you got to do it by the information of your targeting. That is so very important. You guys have
Call everybody perps, or they have a tendency to say that person's lying, because it doesn't match up with their idea of the program, I think we can all agree that programs differ from person to person. If you listen to the calls, you'll understand that. And you can also agree that sometimes we don't really know what's happening. We're only guessing because, a lot of what happens is invisible, minus, of course, the following, the actual contracted stalking, that, also known as gang stalking. That's something we can see. And even then, sometimes we might suspect someone's in on it, but they may not be. So this is a difficult thing to speak, whether it's me or someone who's a specialist, to speak as a fact, and I have, close, dear friends who, one's a neuroscientist, so I do trust him. He's got the background, so when he tells me certain things, I still have a little room in there to go, maybe he just isn't aware of the advancement of technology or whatever it may be, but I believe him because he's studied neurosciences or was involved for maybe 25 years, I think. Yeah, so anyways, I hear some background noise.
So accurate.
What?
There's something else I'd like to add to Ella, if I could.
Sure.
Guys, it was so important to me about, I spoke up and Kate last night thanked me, but we got to recognize too, Matthew stood up last night and he said on the call the same thing that I'm telling you guys today. And actually, it's so important. I called Matthew, I couldn't get a hold of him, but I left a message on his phone today thanking him for standing up, because we got to have people stand up in our communities when we see things that are trying to tear us down. One other thing I want to mention, then I'll go back and be quiet, is right now as we're speaking, there is a lady that's in her 60s. She's in Vancouver, Washington, and she's out there passing out flyers right now at the Saturday market there. And she is the person that I told you about going to the park with, and she took back her power. The perp stood there and pointed the car at her and had the headlights on in the heat of the day, just sitting there with the motor idling and stuff. And I gave her a flyer and told her to take her power back. And she walked up with the flyer, and he backed up and spun out of the parking lot because he knew he was doing wrong. Just want to share that with you guys. We can all do this, and I'm convinced if you guys do what I do, we can beat this. But that's just my idea, and I encourage you to get involved in everything. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I had a point I wanted to reiterate, but I've kind of lost it. Does somebody else want to contribute? I mean, I still have announcements to make. But go ahead. If you on this topic, if you'd like to say something, go ahead. And you don't have to agree with us. That's fine.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I want to comment on a couple of things regarding the survey. As far as my opinion goes, these people, perps, or whatever you'd like to address them as, already know you. They have researched you. You have been in their program maybe longer than you can recognize. Therefore, they know your family. They know everything about your background, where you've worked, where you've lived. So there's nothing left to hide from them. So why not do this survey and do justice to this, because we need the information to go forward. We need it not only for that, but I think also to identify the number of TIs that are out there that have been inflicted I think the numbers will show then data, not only the data, but numbers. I could be wrong, but I think numbers are also important to prove this out. That's my opinion on that. The other thing I want to say is
how to protect ourselves, what's going on in how not to get captured into the mental health field or incarcerated into one of these institutions. And he just gave really the second busiest night next to, I guess a lot of people are interested on this topic. I think there was a total of like people calling in and then some people not staying on the full time. I think it was 180 people. The Bill Binney one, I think, was 200 and something. So it was a busy call, and I thought that was a good call to make. He was just a very highly credible person to give us great information. And if you didn't get to hear it, you can go to the YouTube channel, the Ella Free YouTube channel, and it's one of the most recent ones. You can look up Dr. S speaks on something to do with the mental health. I forget mental health, how he was to discover targeting. That's what it was. So I definitely suggest that just to kind of protect ourselves, because I'm always concerned too of that happening to me once more, and I always worry because people do end up in these places more than once, and most people have been in them at least once, and people that know how to speak too and communicate and are careful, it still happens, you know. Doesn't matter if you have a PhD or you're living in your car, which I always hate to hear that. We end up in those places. Everyone seems to have had a visit or a close brush with that. But, you know, I hope that's going to change. One of the things I was going to say is that, you know, you don't have to do the survey. You don't have to do any activism. But doing nothing has done nothing. So I do think that we do need to take a little bit of a risk to try to stop this. I know starts to get out, and I'm so proud of all these people who've been doing this for years. It's this cumulative effort of trying to stop this, and it's a shift from what I understand, from what people told me, and also what I've seen even in a year and a half that I've been a part of this community. So anyways, good job, everybody, and you know, I really appreciate everybody's efforts, and try not to let fear get the best of you. That's what they want. This is a PSYOPs program. They want us traumatized, they want us in fear, and they want us scared. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And also, Elvira Williams, who's been a long-time activist, is also in the Institute. If we can call and give her some support. I'm trying to figure out who I need to do. Someone has background noise. If you can start.
Hey, Ella?
Yeah,
Ella?
hi, Amy. Yeah, hold on, Amy.
Ella.
Hi. Can you hold on 1 second? I'm going to give a couple phone numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. So Elvira can be reached at 954-776-8890. Again, that's 954-776-8890. And that's one of the, you know, they have those phones in the hallway that are there for the patients. So I'm going to try to figure out a different number, some kind of administrative number that we can call. But go ahead, Amy. You have a lot of background noise, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get off in a second. I called the nurses station, Elvira Williams nurses station, and I spoke to a nurse, a male nurse, and he said he couldn't give me any information unless she signed that paper that he's allowed to divulge how she's doing. I told him that, you know, she's a coherent person. She's not crazy. She's never hurt herself, never hurt anybody else, nor does she ever intend to. I said you would have let her out of there. And so I just pretty much stuck up for her and became an ally for her. And I hope it helps.